Hello, it's Jeanette from the UK, from my home studio, Far Forest Ceramics. Short introduction to this video. It is a start to finish of a piece I made using the Airpen. It also includes a reglaze because things didn't go as planned. So I start off with my clay on the wheel. I'm throwing it using a profile rib. I do my slip decoration with the Airpen, glazing process, the kiln opening with the fail, the reglaze process, how I reglaze these pieces, and the second kiln opening and the final results. So if you're interested to watch the whole process, this is the video for you. There is also a playlist on my journey using the Airpen and all the pieces I've made. I think this is about my 5th or 6th project I've made so far. If you're interested in buying an Airpen, look in the descriptions because there's a 10% discount voucher you can use there. Also a link to a Facebook group that I've created called Pottery and the Airpen for anybody who does slip decoration, for us to share hints and tips. So everything's down there. Hope you enjoy this video.
So I'm using my Hartley Noble bat system here, which I just use all the time. I find them so brilliant to use. And the profile rib I'm using is called Ronnie, and it's from a company in the UK called MoversandshapersUK. This is a rib I've not used before because it looks an unusual shape, so it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out. I'm using a white stoneware clay called Millennium Clay from Valentine Clays in the UK, and I've started with 500 grams of clay. This here is a Trident tool that I purchased off Etsy, 3-prong tool where the middle pole is slightly higher so I can get a really even base, so I always know the depth I've got for trimming. I just find this really useful when I'm throwing small pieces, especially, you know, mugs and bowls, to get a nice even base on the bottom. I'm trying to aim to throw a tall cylinder or a cylinder to the width I'm fairly comfortable with for this mug so that it suits the shape of the profile. I do need to cut in at the bottom slightly to try and help the process, but they're quite easy to use actually. I am finding that some of the ribs are shallower, not quite high enough for what I would personally like to throw on a mug. So this one came up a little bit short. However, when I throw it, you will see that it creates a raised section at the top, which I left because I actually quite like it. It's almost a little bit like a rim at the top. And one thing I forgot to mention is I do also share with you a new tool I found on Amazon, how I mark food colouring on pieces. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. So I'm trimming away the base here, ready for the rib to be closer to the profile of the rib before I even start, because I'm not going to touch the outside once I've put this rib on. Pushing in at the base to make sure that I get that step at the bottom, quite like that. And then you can see the rib is shorter than the cylinder I've thrown. Now it does create a little bit of an overhang, but I think it suits it, especially on this design. So I left it, and I might try some other ribs with that concept. So I want to start 2 new projects, and this is one of them. I've got a couple of mugs and I've used a Movers and Shapers UK rib on this to create this shape. Quite nice, something a little bit different. So I'm thinking of doing what I'm calling my fronds on here. Now I used food colouring to mark some lines on last time. That worked quite well because it burnt off and it gave me some indication. But I've come across these, which I've got the Amazon link that I will I've actually put an Amazon storefront, so any of my tools that I use quite a lot, I'm linking into this one page so you can access them. So these are some pens that I've bought, very inexpensive, from Amazon, and they are canisters that you can actually fill the bottoms with a fluid. So that works out quite well because I've put red food colouring in this one. I've got 3 different size brushes, and when you squeeze the centre, the end here, it fills the nib with the fluid, whatever you've put in, and it becomes like a felt pen, but it's with food colouring. So you've got the 3 different thicknesses of brushes that you can use here. But I'm going to have a go with the smallest one today and just see if that gives me an indication or a helping mark, because I'm trying to look to see where do I want to put my marks, spacings, things like that. I can do grid lines with them. So we're going to see. So let's have a look. I want to do some fronds. Oh, yes. That's nice. They're just guidelines. I like that. That's very easy, but the good thing is that this, because it's quite soft leather hard, it doesn't put grooves into it like my previous Sharpie did. I've got to remember to have room for the leaves. Okay. Well, this works really well. I'm liking that. Just like a felt pen. And that should burn off really soft on the clay. So I want to actually carve those out now. I do have a diamond core tool, but I think that's going to go in too thick. So I want to carve these lines in now. Be careful of the handle. I just want to check that all my lines go to the bottom, because I quite like this shelf at the bottom with this rib. I think it could suit this style. Now these mugs had dried out more than I'd want when I came into the studio this morning, so I've popped them in the damp box for, I think they've been in there about 3 hours now, and they've softened up to a really nice degree now. I just didn't want the slip to be a significant difference in moisture content if these had dried out too much. Right, let's have a go. So I am going to try this time. I found that I've been using the green nib and the orange nib, which green then goes up larger to actually grey and then up to orange. I've missed out the grey one, but I'm finding them all a little bit too big, so I can't put my finger over the nozzle without it coming out too big. So by having a smaller nozzle, I'm hoping I can control it more, so I've got longer to control the shape of each of my leaves on the fronds. Well, we're going to see. Hopefully you can see that okay. So I'm going to be using now the lines that I've cut in as opposed to the pink. I'm definitely finding it better with this finer nozzle, but I'm still not needing to put my finger on the hole very much for it to come out. So So I'm wanting it to almost come out a little bit more slower. Now I'm wondering whether to put some carved lines in down the bottom here. Just carve some lines in down the bottom. But I should have done that before I did the slip trailing, so maybe next time I could try that. But I feel this is crying out for something on the bottom. Or maybe I glaze that in a different tone to this. I quite like those though. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, these fronds, but I like them. They're quite nice as a pair. Well, we'll see what they turn out like anyway, once they're glazed. I'm now glazing with Amaco's Blue Stone, and I'm going to put 2 coats on. And the one thing that I find with this glaze, it's very thin, whereas normally they're a little bit more gloopy. I always try and glaze with an awful lot on my brush so that it doesn't drag. If it's dragging, I haven't got enough on my brush. This was quite hard to glaze actually, because over the texture you had to really make sure you got in all the nooks and crannies. So being a thin glaze, that actually helped that process. These are the 2 mugs that I made with that design. I quite like this shape. Let me put one down. I quite like this shape. It's got a lip at the top as well. But I'm not again sure on this glaze. The inside is quite nice, but the outside I'm not sure. It's better than, oh again look there, it's obviously too close on me, it doesn't like it, so I'm gonna have to reglaze this as well. Damn, maybe I test on the vase and then, so this one is okay all the way around, but I still don't like the glaze on it. But I like the design of the mug shape, I like the size. The fronds are quite nice, but it's too dark. I might keep the liner as is and do reglaze with something on the outside. I don't like this. Despite a few people saying that they like this glaze matte, I couldn't. It just didn't work with me. So definitely going for the reglaze. I don't like where the flare-ups are. It's not an even matte finish. So I'm actually using hairspray to apply this time. So sometimes I heat them up, but I find the quickest way to do it is actually just adding some hairspray on. Within a minute it's dry and you can glaze. But I find that doing a reglaze, you need to do 2 thin coats. So I'm using Amaco's Textured Turquoise, and I'm adding the first coat, and on the lacquer it's not pooling too much, few odd spots, but I'm able to get a nice thin coat on. And as soon as I've got it on, what I need to do is try and dry it before it starts to pool. So that's the bit I have a problem with reglazes, is where it actually pools slightly and then that pooling starts to spread and reveal the original glaze. So I'm whacking this on really thick, only on the outside, not the inside, and then I put the heat gun on to actually dry this off before I add my second coat. So I do this right after the brush on. I don't leave it to dry naturally, and now I can see the gaps that I missed to put my second coat on, and again I dry that. That's all I'm going to do. 2 coats, Amaco Textured Turquoise, nice and thin, and then it's ready to go into the fire for the reglaze. Fingers crossed this is an improvement.
Oh yes, 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 oh yes. So I did a reglaze of some pieces. Oh, I think I've got some drippage here. Okay, let me get one out. Yay! So this is a piece I've reglazed, and let me see if I can take it off the cookie. Yeah, okay, that's come off okay. Oh, I'm much happy with this. Now, I put this on a previous video. It had blue stone, matte blue stone on the inside, which I've left alone. But I didn't like it on the outside because I'd had it too close to another piece and it had a weird flare on it. But what did I add on top of that? I added textured turquoise. So it was blue stone and I wasn't loving it, but I've added textured turquoise. And look at the bottom of that. I much prefer that. That is really quite yummy. It's kept the texture. Oh, I'm happy I did that now. Still got the matte on the inside. Let me see the other. I did have quite a few people saying they loved the matte blue stone from Amaco. And I kept looking at it. I'm like, no, I don't like it. Oh, this one doesn't. Oh, okay. Should come off. Okay. I've got a gorgeous drip there. How gorgeous is that? But I should be able to pull this off. I'm pleased how that's worked out. Let me see. Oh, yeah. Oh, what a gorgeous drip. I like that. I do like that. I'm hoping you can see. I'm trying not to focus on me. I much prefer that. The inside is very nice. Can you see that? Let me try and see. So you've got a really lovely effect on the inside from the matte blue stone, and then the outside by adding a reglaze refire with textured turquoise. It was 2 thin coats. I'm much happier with those. I like the texture on them now. Yeah, I'm happy to put my name to those now. I just didn't like the matte ones at all. Right, let me put those down.
I'm so pleased I did this reglaze. I love the finished results. I love to connect with the community. So if you'd like to drop me a comment or hit the like button, that would be fabulous. And it also helps the algorithms for my channel. And if you'd like to see more videos and not miss them when they come out, you can click the subscribe button and click the notifications bell to all. It's free. It just lets you know when I've landed a new video. But thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed that, and see you soon.